De los Estados Unidos, hablando en Finlandia, rueda de prensa con el primer ministro finlandés. Vamos a conectar ya con esa rueda de prensa posterior también a estos 2 días de cumbre de la OTAN en Vilna, en Lituania. Ya saben que esta semana Biden ha estado de tour, de gira por Europa, hablando ya el presidente de Estados Unidos. Vamos a escucharle.
Visiting Finland, we have had possibilities of meeting each other quite often during the...
I like it here even better.
Yep. And by the way, first time we met also in Helsinki, I was the Speaker of Parliament when you visited.
I remember.
So we have had a lot of discussions during the last couple of years. I want to once again thank you for the strong support you have given all the time.
It's my honor.
The new era in Finnish security policy has begun, and you will be one of those who wrote it to history. I also want to thank you for the Vilnius meeting. It was very touching to feel the unity between allies, and I think it was greatly created by you. We had possibilities of discussing bilaterally. Today I took up the negotiations of our defense cooperation agreement. We are going to continue our security discussion by that, and that is of vital importance to Finland. In the same time also Sweden and Denmark are having similar discussions, and at the end it seems that all the 5 Nordic countries will have a bilateral agreement with USA. Technology is one of the key words for the future. There are elements like artificial intelligence, quantum technology, sky technology. All that is leading our way to the future, and we have to make sure that it's leading our way in a very secure way, and that demands responsibility of those who know how, and that is why it is very important to coordinate and cooperate with our knowledge and resources forward in this sector. We also had a discussion on our neighbor, and I think that we both share similar views. The war in Ukraine was also discussed. We both see that we will continue support to Ukraine, which is defending not only herself but also all the values we represent in the Western world. We also had a meeting with the Nordic family. It is a tradition which started during President Obama's time, and it has been a very valuable tool for us to get even better understand each other's security and technology. They're also discussed there.
Bueno, pues aquí tienen al presidente de Finlandia, el primer ministro finlandés, hablando con Joe Biden, que está escuchándole ahí a su lado atentamente. De momento, lo que está diciendo, entre otras cosas, es que los 5 países nórdicos acabarán firmando un acuerdo bilateral con Estados Unidos. Dice que la tecnología también es uno de los elementos clave del futuro. Dice que hay que asegurarse de que la inteligencia artificial lidera el camino hacia el futuro, pero eso sí, de una manera segura. Y respecto a la guerra de Ucrania, dice que también lo han comentado en esa reunión que han tenido. Dice que ambos creen que hay que continuar dando apoyo a Ucrania y que este país también comparte los valores del mundo occidental. Además, también ha advertido de que ha habido una reunión con otros países nórdicos también y, bueno, hasta aquí de momento algunos de los principales mensajes que se han trasladado. De momento lo único que ha hablado es el primer ministro de Finlandia. Vamos a ver enseguida qué es lo que nos cuenta Joe Biden. Comienza a hablar ya el presidente de Estados Unidos. Vamos ya con él.
Daughter of Ireland. You can tell that's a Freudian slip. I'm thinking of home. The daughter of Iceland, I want to say I think we've had a very productive summit. We discussed, Mr. President, where we stand at an inflection point in history, where the decisions we make now are going to determine the course of the history for the next 4, 5, 6 decades. And this week we affirmed how Finland and the United States together with allies and partners are working in lockstep to set us on a stronger, safer, and more secure path, not just for Europe, not just for NATO, but for the world. In Vilnius, NATO met with 31 nations for the first time. We showed the world that our alliance is more united than ever, and soon it'll be 32 allies, thanks to an agreement with Turkey to move Sweden's accession protocols forward. And as capable partners and committed democracies, both Finland and Sweden are going to add significantly to the strength, security, and unanimity of NATO. And with stronger NATO, it makes the entire world stronger. Mr. President, as your ally, we want the people of Finland to know the United States is committed to Finland, committed to NATO, and those commitments are rock solid. That we'll defend every inch of NATO territory, and that includes Finland, obviously. Second, over the past week, we reaffirmed our unwavering support for the brave people of Ukraine as they defend their country against Russia's brutal and inhumane attacks. Our allies and partners around the world understand that this fight is not only a fight for the future of Ukraine, it's about sovereignty, security, and freedom itself. I want you to think about what would happen if we didn't do anything. What is likely to happen in the rest of Europe if we did nothing? So this week, NATO has officially elevated our relationship with Ukraine. Allies also agreed to lift the membership action plan that's usually required before you could be admitted from Ukraine. And it's created a path to membership for Ukraine as it continues to make progress.
Bueno, pues Joe Biden siendo muy categórico desde luego con lo que ha ocurrido en los últimos días. Dice, ha sido esta reunión con Finlandia una muy productiva y dice, estamos en un punto de inflexión en la historia. Las decisiones que vayamos a tomar en el día de hoy, generalmente en la actualidad, dice, van a determinar la historia dentro de las próximas 4, 5, 6 décadas, dice. Es decir, que lo que se decida hoy, de lo que se decida hoy va a depender los próximos 60 años, dice Joe Biden. Dice que es necesario tomar un camino más seguro, no solo para la OTAN, sino para el resto del mundo, dice también. Y además asegura que, bueno, pues una OTAN que es cada vez más fuerte también hace que el resto del mundo, que todo el mundo sea cada vez más fuerte. Está hablando ahora mismo de Ucrania, de cómo durante esta semana en esa cumbre de la OTAN se ha elevado la relación en términos más formales de cara más bien a Ucrania. Sigue hablando ahora mismo Joe Biden, vamos a conectar de nuevo con ello.
In the United Kingdom, we brought together public, private, and philanthropic partners to discuss ways to unlock literally trillions of private dollars in finance to fight climate change. In Lithuania, NATO allies met in the EU and our Indo-Pacific partners to continue advancing our work on terrorism, cyber threats, resilience, and so much more. And here in Finland, at our U.S. Nordic Leaders Summit, we reaffirmed our commitment to stand together, to power a clean energy transition, to preserve regional security, to promote democratic values, and to pioneer the technologies of the future, from quantum computing to advanced communication systems, so we did it together. Mr. President, at this critical moment in history, this inflection point, the world is watching to see, will we do the hard work that matters to forge a better future? Will we stand together? Will we stand with one another? Will we stay committed to our course? This week, Finland and the United States and our allies and partners said a resounding, loud yes. Yes, we'll step up. Yes, we'll stand together. And yes, we'll keep working toward a stronger, safer, and more secure world. So, Mr. President, thank you again for having me here. As partners, friends, and allies, I look forward to our work together in the years ahead, and it's been a real pleasure getting to know you even better. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have time for questions.
Shall we start with...
Bueno, pues hasta aquí la comparecencia de momento, la introducción de esta rueda de prensa entre Joe Biden y el primer ministro finlandés. De momento, pocos anuncios, ¿no? Los que ha hecho el presidente de Estados Unidos. Dice, entre otras cosas, que es un momento crítico, que es un momento de punto de inflexión en la historia, lo ha vuelto a repetir, y dice que el mundo está viendo si de verdad se hace el trabajo duro que se tiene que hacer ahora mismo. Dice, estamos comprometidos a seguir con este curso, y que esta semana también ha concluido así. Lo que se ha escuchado bien alto y claro en la cumbre de la OTAN es un sí a seguir moviéndose hacia un mundo más seguro. Preguntas ahora para Joe Biden y para el primer ministro finlandés. Vamos a ver qué es lo que le preguntan.
Would prevent future US presidents from withdrawing from NATO without Senate's approval. What actions will you take to assure Finland that US will remain a reliable NATO partner for decades to come?
I absolutely guarantee it. There is no question. There's overwhelming support from the American people. There's overwhelming support from the members of the Congress, both House and Senate, in both parties, notwithstanding the fact there's some extreme elements of one party. We will stand together. The American people known for the since the end of World War II and the formation of NATO that our security rests in the unanimity among European and transatlantic partner, us. And so this is, no one can guarantee the future, but this is the best bet anyone could make.
And my second question on that note to Mr. President Niinistö, hearing this answer that no one can guarantee a future, are you worried that the political instability in US will cause issues in the alliance in the future?
Let me be clear. I didn't say we couldn't guarantee the future. You can't tell me whether you're going to be able to go home tonight. No one can be sure what they're going to do. I'm saying, as sure as anything can possibly be said about American foreign policy, we will stay connected to NATO. Connected to NATO, beginning, middle, and end. We're a transatlantic partnership. That's what I've said.
It seems that the president has answered your problems, but I have to tell you that during this process I met approximately president many times, but I would say about 50 people from Congress and Senate, and I think the message was quite clear, quite united, and I have no reason to doubt about USA policies in the future.
Let me say one more thing. We learned a hard lesson. Peace and security in Europe is essential to U.S. security and peace. The idea that there could be conflict in Europe among our friends and us not engaged has never happened in modern history. That's why we're staying together.
Next question, President Biden.
Oh, I've called on somebody. I'm sorry. Wall Street Journal. Andrew?
Pues curiosa la pregunta que le han hecho a Joe Biden, al presidente de Estados Unidos. Le han preguntado, ¿Estados Unidos podría en algún momento en el futuro retirarse de la OTAN, por lo que se necesitaría que realmente ningún presidente tuviera el poder unilateralmente de retirar a Estados Unidos, sino que tuviera que pasar por la ley en el Senado? Bueno, pues Joe Biden ha querido ser también muy contundente en su respuesta. Dice, les garantizo que no hay ninguna duda. Y luego, tras la repregunta, ha vuelto a insistir, y esta vez con ya palabras mayores. Dice, les puedo asegurar de la mejor manera en la que se puede decir que Estados Unidos va a seguir conectado con la OTAN en el futuro. Y ahora, precisamente cuando se iba a terminar ya la respuesta, él ha querido volver a insistir en el mismo tema y dice, la idea de que pueda haber un conflicto en Europa y que nosotros no estemos involucrados en él nunca ha ocurrido en la historia, y ese es el motivo por el que vamos a seguir juntos. Bueno, pues desde luego declaración de intenciones de Joe Biden, que se aventura a confirmar lo que puede pasar en el futuro y que dice no hay dudas de que Estados Unidos no se retirará de la OTAN. Sigue respondiendo ahora Joe Biden.
But what agreement is ultimately reached depends upon Putin and what he decides to do. But there is no possibility of him winning the war in Ukraine. He's already lost that war. Imagine anyway, he's already lost that war.
Just on the question of a concern about going on for years, is there a possibility that there's a stalemate and this becomes the question of whether the war could go on for years? Is there a possibility there's a stalemate and it can continue for quite some time?
Well, I don't think the war can go on for years for two reasons. Number one, I don't think that that Russia could maintain the war forever, number one, in terms of their resources and capacity. Number two, I think that there is going to be a circumstance where eventually President Putin is going to decide it's not in the interest of Russia, economically, politically, or otherwise, to continue this war. But I can't predict exactly how that happens. My hope is, and my expectation is, you'll see that Ukraine makes significant progress on their offensive, and that it generates a negotiated settlement somewhere along the line.
And I have a question for the Finnish president, but I would be remiss if I didn't raise my colleague Evan Gershkovich, who's been in prison for more than 100 days. And I just wondered if you had an update on the process for trying to get him out of prison, and if you're serious about a prisoner exchange.
Oh, I'm serious about prisoner exchange. I'm serious about doing all we can to free Americans from being illegally held in Russia or anywhere else for that matter. And that process is underway.
Bueno, pues Joe Biden hablando desde luego sin pelos en la lengua sobre lo que puede o lo que cree que puede ocurrir respecto a la guerra. Dice por una parte, no hay ninguna posibilidad de que Vladimir Putin, de que Rusia gane la guerra en Ucrania. Dice, ya la ha perdido. Ha intentado explicarlo, dice, imagínense, pero luego se ha dado cuenta de que no debía decir quizá lo que quería decir y dice, da igual, ya ha perdido la guerra. Además también le han preguntado sobre la posibilidad de que la guerra se extienda durante varios años, que eso es algo que se ha dicho incluso por parte de algunos líderes de la OTAN. Dice que en su opinión eso no va a ocurrir, que la guerra no se va a extender durante años, porque dice que no cree que los rusos puedan mantener la guerra para siempre, por una cuestión de recursos y de capacidad. Y además también añade lo siguiente, dice, creo que va a haber circunstancias donde Vladimir Putin va a decidir que no le sigue interesando llevar a cabo, continuar con esta guerra. Interesante, desde luego, lo que viene a decir Joe Biden, que pone más bien la responsabilidad de que la guerra no acabe en Rusia que en el simple hecho de que Occidente, a través de Ucrania, ya haya ganado esa guerra. Dice que Vladimir Putin no continuará con ella directamente, pero no menciona la fortaleza que puede tener el bando de Ucrania. Con esto yo me despido. Enseguida volvemos aquí con Javier Luengo. Les voy a dejar con esa comparecencia de Joe Biden, que no le quedará demasiado, ya están las preguntas, pero enseguida traduciendo aquí al presidente de los Estados Unidos, Javier Luengo, en Rolling Stocks.
Well, first of all, the context in which I said that was the gentleman who occupies a seat on the other side of your border in Moscow said he wanted the Finlandization of NATO. I said it's more likely he's going to get the NATOization of Finland. That's the context in which that was said. And what was the second part of your question?
I asked, how has Finland's position in the world changed during this NATO membership process?
Finland's already a strong, vibrant nation. I think what Finland's joining NATO does, and Sweden as well, when the Nordic countries are all members of NATO, it just makes the world safer. It significantly increases the prospect that there is less likely to be war. We're deadly earnest about the notion. We'll defend every single inch of NATO territory. And now we're on the way of getting to 32 NATO nations. That's a significant commitment. And so the likelihood of any nation voluntarily deciding they're going to attack one of the nations or Finland is highly unlikely. And so, but if it were to, they understand they're not just attacking Finland, they're attacking 31 other countries.
Next question, President Biden, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess it's Arlette, CNN.
Thank Thank you, Mr. President. We've seen more disarray with Russian generals, most recently with the firing of a general who criticized the defense ministry, this following that rebellion by Prigozhin. Does this raise any new concerns about Putin potentially doing more drastic things regarding Ukraine, like nuclear weapons, or potentially against the U.S., like election interference?
Well, first of all, they're already interfered in American elections, so that would not be anything new. They did that last time they tried to. But with regard to, I don't think there's any real prospect, you never know, but of Putin using nuclear weapons. Not only has the West, but China and the rest of the world has said, don't go there. Don't go there. Number two. Number three, I think that determining what happens to Prigozhin, what happens to Vilnius, what happens when we discuss this in Vilnius, is God only knows what he's likely to do. Well, I'm not even sure, we're not even sure where he is and what relationship he has. If I were he, I'd be careful what I ate. I'd be keeping my eye on my menu. But all kidding aside, who knows? I don't know. I don't think any of us know for certain what the future of Prigozhin is in Russia. And so I don't know how to answer that question beyond that.
And if I could also ask you something about happening back home. You're seeing the GOP grappling with tying abortion rights to defense issues, including a block on military promotions by Senator Tuberville. What does this say about U.S. military readiness? And would you be willing to talk with Tuberville to try to work out some solution?
I'd be willing to talk to him if I thought there was any possibility of him changing this ridiculous position he has. He's jeopardizing U.S. security by what he's doing. I expect the Republican Party to stand up and do something about it. It's in their power to do that. The idea that we don't have a chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the idea that we have all these promotions that are in abeyance right now.
Bueno, asuntos de política nacional los que están ocupando esta comparecencia también del presidente de Estados Unidos, Joe Biden, tras esa reunión con el Consejo Nórdico y esa cita que ha tenido en esta rueda de prensa conjunta que está con el presidente de Finlandia. En cualquier caso, el estadounidense ha hecho repaso también de la cumbre de la OTAN, de la que cerró ayer en Vilna. Ha hablado de esa membresía de Ucrania, comentando que no es lo primordial porque ningún país de la OTAN puede entrar en la OTAN directamente cuando está en guerra, porque eso supondría poner en marcha la tercera guerra mundial. Ha querido también Biden hablar sobre en la extensión que puede durar la guerra, si se cronifica o no el conflicto bélico en Ucrania, y ha dejado claro que no cree que suceda por dos razones, y es que una de ellas, Rusia no tendría suficiente con lo que aguantar a juicio del estadounidense. En cualquier caso, habla Biden de un punto de inflexión en la historia que podría cambiar el mundo tal y como lo conocemos durante las próximas 6 décadas. Seguimos pendientes de estas palabras del estadounidense. Volvemos con la señal a Helsinki.
We had to make sure first trying to figure out every possible negative action we might meet, and surely how we respond on that. And we were very careful on that work. So at the moment, situation is quite calm. I hope it remains as such. But I just want to tell you that Finnish people do feel more secure at the moment. We have 80% of population supporting NATO membership, and more than 80% who say that we will also protect our allies.
También el presidente de Finlandia sobre ese apoyo que hay dentro de su país a entrar en la OTAN después de que haya sido neutral militarmente durante estos últimos años en el conflicto y por las implicaciones que puede haber de cara a un conflicto con Rusia. El caso es que acaba esta rueda de prensa en Helsinki, en este palacio presidencial de la capital de Finlandia, tras esta cita del Consejo Nórdico, en el que ha estado presente también el presidente estadounidense Joe Biden en esa gira, en el marco de esa gira por Europa para acabar y para presenciar y estar presente en esa cumbre de la OTAN en Lituania que cerraba en la jornada de ayer. En cualquier caso, estaba hablando el finés de ese apoyo de la población a la pertenencia de Finlandia a la OTAN, recordemos, miembro de pleno derecho desde abril, y ha hablado de un 80% de los finlandeses que sí que apoyan estar dentro de esa alianza atlántica, pese a que en cierto modo sea también una tensión más, una calma tensa tras tener 1.400 kilómetros de frontera terrestre directa con la Federación de Rusia. Pendientes de todo esto, también del caso de Suecia, arrancamos y miramos ya unos mercados financieros que atienden a esta hora de la tarde a ese dato también en parte del PPI en Estados Unidos, ese que se asoma ya a la zona de deflación, y una renta variable que mantiene las compras en Europa a la espera del cierre de sesión en apenas 20 minutos. Tenemos en este caso